So we'd like to invite everyone, all the monastics, to come up. Các thầy, quý sư cô trong phía sau. We'd like to invite all of our sisters in the back, if they could come up and join us, our new sisters. Thank you. So while we're waiting for our sisters, dear community, thank you for your presence today. Can you raise your hand if you are coming just for the day? Okay, thank you. So we have an especially large group today because we're blessed to have the Love Circle Sangha from New York, a retreat going on during this weekend. So it's good to see some familiar faces. We're still waiting for your sisters in the back who are sitting in the mud room. Thank you. This is called wholesome peer pressure. That's what we're doing. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction, taking refuge in the Buddha in myself. I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love, taking refuge in the Dharma in myself. I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation, taking refuge in the Sangha in myself. I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Con về nương tựa Bụt, người đưa đường chỉ lối cho con trong cuộc đời. Nam mô Buddhaya. Con về nương tựa Pháp, con đường của tình thương và sự hiểu biết. Nam mô Dhammaya. Con về nương tựa Tăng, đoàn thể của những ai nguyện sống cuộc đời tình thương. Nam mô Sanghaya. Đã về nương tựa Bụt, con đang có hướng đi sáng đẹp trong cuộc đời. Nam mô Buddhaya. Đã về nương tựa Pháp, con đang đường học hỏi và tu tập các pháp môn chuyển hóa. Nam mô Dhammaya. Đã về nương tựa Tăng, con đang đường tâm thân soi sáng dịu dàng và nâng đỡ đến con đường thực tâm. Nam mô Sanghaya. Về nương buồn trong con xin nguyện cho mọi người hễ nhận được giải tích sớm mở lòng Bồ Đề. Nam mô Buddhaya. Về nương Pháp trong con xin nguyện cho mọi người nắm vững các pháp môn cùng lên đường chuyển hóa. Nam mô Dhammaya. Về nương Tăng trong con xin nguyện cho mọi người xây dựng nên bốn chốn nhiếp hóa được muôn loài. Nam mô Sanghaya. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dharmang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Good morning, dear teacher, dear community. Let us enjoy our sitting posture, sitting upright but relaxed, and follow our in-breath and out-breath. We practice a few short exercises of breathing together before we start the Dharma talk. Breathing in, I am aware of my in-breath. Breathing out, I am aware of my out-breath. Aware of in-breath, aware of out-breath. Breathing in, I follow my in-breath from the beginning to the end. Breathing out, I follow my out-breath from the beginning to the end. Following in-breath, following out-breath. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I smile to my whole body. Aware of body, smiling. Breathing in, I relax my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my whole body. Relaxing body, calming body. Aware of my thoughts, I breathe in, smiling to and letting go of my thoughts, I breathe out. Aware of thoughts, smiling and letting go. Thank you for your practice. Let us enjoy 3 more sounds of the bell. Good morning, dear respected teacher, dear community. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Day of Mindfulness, and also to acknowledge the Love Circle Sangha who's been here with us the whole weekend. I also like to extend a welcome to one of my elder sisters, Sister Maknew, who just arrived from Canada. She's on the back. Welcome, sister. She's very shy. This morning, I would like to share with you about the topic of the human being and the bodhisattva. Should be simple, but maybe I will write it on the board so it's easier. If we study about Buddhism, we learn that the human being is made up of 2 aspects. One is body, the physical body, and the other is mind. So this is one of the classifications or categories for us to easily to learn more about ourselves and understand ourselves better. So it's body and mind. And you might see this a lot in Buddhist texts. We also learn that to be in balance and to get a sense of well-being, body and mind should be together. But many of us might have found that in our daily lives, they're often sort of disconnected, whether by outside conditions or by inner conditions. Because with outside conditions, sometimes we're busy, we are involved with many things. We work quite a lot. We're very busy, and so our mind is involved in all these external things, and we forget that there is a body that is functioning too. And at some point, we get sick, we get overstressed, we get burnout. And then we realize, oh, I need to take care of my body. And with internal conditions, sometimes it is ourselves that actually propagate this. We might not feel at home in ourselves, and so we find ways to distract our mind so that we don't have to be with our body. And many of us know this. We've all gone through this. So both outside conditions and inside conditions influences the way we live, and causes this disconnection, which brings about a lot of difficulties, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. The teaching of the Buddha invites us to reflect and see how we can reconnect these two parts, these two aspects of ourselves, so that we can reestablish balance, so that we can learn to feel more at ease in our own skin, in our own body, in our own mind, so that we can learn to cultivate joy and happiness, to recognize these conditions that give rise to joy and happiness that we already inherit, and also to learn ways to heal and to resolve our difficulties and to transform our pain and suffering. And so body and mind is one classification. Another classification we might find is it's called the 5 skandhas, or 5 aggregates. And even though there are 5, they also come from these 2. So namely, form, feelings, perception, mental formations, maybe plurals on that, and consciousness. So it's another way of dividing. So body would be comparable to this, to form. And then mind encompasses these 4. It's a little bit more clear differentiation, just so that we can learn to understand ourselves better. It's not to divide ourselves more and to dissociate or to disconnect, but just to understand. And Buddhist teachings show us how to take care of our body and mind in those terms, or in these terms, taking care of our five aggregates. And the term in Buddhism, it's called the five skandhas. And I trust that many of us have learned about this already, but also I just go briefly through them, and then I will share about some of the practices that we do here to befriend with ourselves. Concerning form or body, we have practices that are concrete that we can apply. And you have been doing that already. Those of us who have been here this weekend, we're taught to be mindful in sitting, in eating, in walking. So those involves form. So when we sit, we are aware that we're sitting. When we walk, we are aware that we're walking. When we eat, we are aware that we're eating. So these bodily functions and movements are infused with this energy of mindfulness. And when the energy of mindfulness is present, we have relaxation, we have ease, we have calm. And there's a sutra called the Sutra on the Four Establishments of Mindfulness. And it goes into detail about all the different body parts that we can observe, we can send energy to, different body positions that we can breathe this energy of mindfulness into, different functions of the body. Namely, for example, when we open the door, we're aware that we open the door. So that means we open the door and closing the door mindfully. That is practicing. When we go into the hall, we place our shoes, whether on the shelf or on the floor. Do we remember where we place them? At that moment, I'm placing my shoes right here. It only take a moment, but our mind is present with our body. And so throughout our day, we can practice mindfulness. It doesn't mean that to practice mindfulness or meditation, you have to be in a sitting position in a meditation hall. Of course, that's very conducive to the practice of mindfulness, but we can bring that practice out anywhere. Whether we're outside working busily, whether we're in the monastery enjoying our steps, we can do this. When we sit down to pull a chair out, sit down to enjoy a cup of tea, or eat our meal, and then when we stand up, that we remember to push the chair back. That is a gesture of mindfulness too. When we walk, we are aware that our feet are making the steps, that we still have two healthy feet. That is a condition for our happiness. Are we aware of that? If we are, then we can't help but feel more at ease, more happy. When we do exercise in the morning, we observe our body movements. On some days, my neck hurts, and I feel that. But today, it doesn't hurt. So I feel very happy that I'm able to do some exercise without pain. Most often, we don't recognize the condition for our happiness until it's not there, or either temporary or permanent. But at this moment, we are enjoying those conditions, so let us remind ourselves to feel gratitude and to be happy. And then the other exercises are like scanning the body with other different parts. Most of us study biology, we know which parts of the body lie where. And we will know it when there is something wrong that's going on. So this practice helps us to recognize these body parts that are functioning well at this moment, and those that are having pain, we can send some energy to them to help them to feel more at ease. And just with the physical body alone, there are many different practices that we can do to help the body to relax. There's relaxation, deep relaxation practice too, that we can do to help the body to relax. For feelings, there's 3 basic categories: neutral feelings, pleasant feelings, and unpleasant feelings. The last time one of our brothers gave a talk about, there's a subject about this, and he mentioned that most of us have like 70%, I think, of neutral feelings, which mean neither feel pleasant or unpleasant. It's just plain. And an example would be a non-toothache feeling. We don't feel anything. But if we have awareness and mindfulness, we can transform that non-feeling or neutral feeling into a pleasant feeling. Wow, it's very nice to not have a toothache. So this non-toothache feeling is actually a pleasant feeling, because we know that when it aches, we will know it, and it will be unpleasant. When we are fed and we're full, we might not appreciate it. Oh, I have 3 meals a day. It's at mealtime, somebody rings a bell, I come and eat. Just normal, nothing. But if we happen to miss something, to not be there for the meal, or when we feel hungry, then we will know, oh, I wish I have something to eat, and I will feel much better. But when we're full, we're not appreciated that we're full. And so being mindful helps us to recollect, to call to mind these conditions that we already have. And the 70% neutral feelings, if we are skillful, we can transform them all into, if not all, most, into pleasant feelings. And the feelings that are unpleasant, we have ways to either deal with them or transform them, or acknowledge them and accept them. In that sense, they can also be transformed into pleasant feelings. Perceptions, there are 51 categories of perception. That's a lot. And feelings I'm sorry, that's mental formation. I'll go there first. There are 51 categories of mental formations, and feelings and perception are 2 of those. And so that's vast. And there are teachings and practices of how to recognize these mental formations. An example would be when we have a feeling of irritation comes up in our mind. We breathe with it and we recognize that this is an irritation. That is a category or a mental formation, something that formed in the mind. And we acknowledge it, accept it, and let it go. Joy is another one of a mental formation that rise up in our mind. We recognize it, accept it, and let it go. Perception, there are like 3 modes of perception. Direct perception, which can be right or wrong. So it's very, very detailed oriented in Buddhist psychology. It's also inference. When you see smoke somewhere, you infer that that might be a fire, and you can be wrong or right. You will know when you get there and find out. And there's like another one is totally wrong perception. You totally misjudge, misunderstand, and you perceive something that is not there. That's wrong perception. And with the practice of mindfulness, we'll be able to recognize more and to adjust our perception more so that it can be more correct. And then consciousness is one, but in a subcategory, it can be divided into 8. And I won't bother going into that here. Many of our brothers and sisters and our teacher himself has given a lot of talks on these. And with consciousness, if we're mindful, we're also will be able to adjust it, to help shed light on it, so that together the 5 aggregates can work in harmony. And when they are in harmony, we arrive at well-being. Maybe we can listen to one sound of a bell and breathe together. And Buddhist teaching shows us also that these are impermanent, they change. Some texts consider them like the 5 currents of a river, constantly flowing, constantly changing, and constantly being influenced by other conditions. And so when we say a human being, and most of us identify this as a self. We say myself or yourself, or ourselves or themselves. These terms are conventional. We need them in order to function in society. But when we understand them deeper, then we can use these terms without being misled. There is a teaching on the two truths. One is called the ultimate truth. There's a couple of terms I like to share with you too. In one aspect, we might call it truth, and sometimes it can be described as a dimension. And then the other one is the conventional. Truth. Another term is historical dimension. So when we say, our teacher have a saying that he likes us to practice. It goes, "Be beautiful, be yourself." And he wants to convey to us that if we know ourselves more, and when we're more comfortable with ourselves, then we're more beautiful. And so the practice is to learn to be comfortable with ourselves in terms of taking care of ourselves. And accepting ourselves. And so when we say self here, we're in the conventional, the historical dimension. And we need that. For example, this is T.P Khoi, and this is Sister Lin Tue, and there is Sister Tin Kim. So we need these conventional designation in order to live and to function. But if we understand and touch the ultimate truth or the ultimate dimension, we know that we are interconnected, that we are impermanent. We're changing all the time. So just because I'm T.P Khoi doesn't mean that I am not changing. Even at this moment, I change all the time. And each of us is like that. So we use this term very loosely, our name, our identity, our status, they're not concrete. Another example concerning these two truths is, for example, what would be a good example? Driving. When we drive, we need directions. We need to know where north is, south is, west is, east is, in order to get somewhere. But if, from the standpoint of a spaceship outside looking at Earth, there's actually no direction. Space is all around. And even for those of us on Earth, the person on the other side of the globe might decide that the east, south, and west is totally different than we here. Let alone someone on the other side of the continent. If you were to stand here facing me, you can say your east is my west, right? And we can't just stand here and argue who is right, who is wrong. We're both right. It's perspective, is where we stand. And so, so knowing that underneath these conventional ways and conventional truths, there is the ultimate truth that everything is connected and we don't have to differentiate anything. So when we know this already, when we differentiate, we're not caught in these differentiation. We know that this is a means. And so when we say, be beautiful, be yourself, we understand that this self is made of non-self elements. And this self is impermanent, changing, empty. So when we know this, then we can say, self, myself, yourself, without being caught that we're a separate, unchanging entity. And so when we know that, and we see this all around us, it's not just in the human realm, it's everywhere. The flower, the table, the cup, the building, the cloud, everything is made of non-self elements, and everything is changing and impermanent. And so when we know that for ourselves, then we can do something to change without being caught that we must be this way. And for some of us, we might not need to change anything. We're fine the way we are. We change only with the intention to better ourselves, to arrive at more peace, more tranquility, and perhaps even to help others. When our teachers say, be beautiful, be yourself, someone might ask, then why are you becoming a monk? Why are you changing your form? Why don't you keep your hair? If you want to be beautiful, be yourself, why do you have to wear the brown robe? Sometimes an easy answer for me would be, oh, I didn't know that before I was a monk. It's too late. But then you can ask another question, how come those who've already known this, practice it, why do you still choose to change your forms? Why do you still want to be a monk or a nun? Something else must come in play. And there are many reasons. One that I can think of is that because we want to transform ourselves so that we can help others. That would be one reason. And so the intention, the wholesome intention can be there. And so when we practice or when we live our life with wholesome intentions, then whether we change or not change, it's not an issue. The issue is the intention at heart. So becoming a monk doesn't mean that we are better than the lay people. There are many lay people, and you are prime examples. You practice very well. And so practicing, the teaching is not exclusive for monastic only or for certain people, but it's open to everyone. We only make the commitment to change ourselves based on if these decision to change ourselves is based on wholesome intentions, then go for it. You will be happy when you do that. The Bodhisattva, in Mahayana Buddhism, there are many Bodhisattvas. And if you have seen their images, most of them are not monastics. Most of them are in the image of lay persons. There is a Bodhisattva, there is a sutra called the Heart Sutra, in which the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara is mentioned. And I just read a little bit of the sutra for you, just the beginning. Avalokiteshvara, while practicing deeply with the insight that brings us to the other shore, suddenly discovered that all of the 5 skandhas are equally empty. 5 skandhas. And with this realization, he overcame all ill-being. I like this passage a lot, and it says a lot to me. When we're able to understand our 5 skandhas, or 5 aggregates more deeply, and applying the teachings and the practice, we're able to transform all of our fears and arrive at well-being. And from that foundation, we can help a lot of people, a lot of living beings. And that's what the Bodhisattva did. Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of great compassion. In this sutra, Avalokiteshvara is described as a male figure. He overcame all ill-being. But if we go to many Mahayana temples, we might see an image of the Bodhisattva in a female form. And I remember there was some times when we have a conversation. This is when I was a novice, and we had a conversation among some of the novices about, why don't we just decide? Why don't the old monks just decide if it's a he or a she? Why is somebody would say she in one sutra, and then in another sutra it says a he? So it's sort of confusing, and even some of the images that we see, we can't really tell. But does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Another sutra in the, there's a chapter in the Lotus Sutra venerating the virtues and the energy of compassion of this Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara. And there's a section that describes this Bodhisattva as someone who listens to the cry of the world and manifests themselves to help. If the person wishes for a king to appear to help, a king appears to help. If a person in trouble wishes for a nun to appear to help, a nun will appear to help. If a person in trouble wishes for a monk to help, a monk will appear to help. If a person in trouble wishes a lay person, a layman, a laywoman, an older person, a younger person, a child, to appear to help, such person would appear to help. And we would think, how is that possible? Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of compassion, very much as Statue of Liberty is the embodiment of liberty, or represent liberty, or the flag represents the nation. Why do we salute a flag? Why do we flock into New York to see the Statue of Liberty? They stand for something, right? And so Avalokiteshvara stands for compassion. And the seed of compassion is also in each and every one of us. So we ourselves can be an Avalokiteshvara. We ourselves can manifest the energy of compassion. And we have done that already. If you have family and have a child, when your child asks for a mother appears to help the child, right? And if you have a parent, when your parent asks for you to come and help, you are the parent's child. You're no longer the mother to your child, but you're the child to your father or mother. When your spouse or partner asks you for help, you're present. So in that sense, you're manifesting all these different forms. You're not just one person. When you go to work, you are a co-worker at your workplace. You are another person. You're not different from the other roles. You're all of those. And it depends on the situation that you manifest yourself as such a person. Someone can say that, oh, I am a teacher when I give a talk. Maybe right now I am, but at the same time I am a student to my teacher. And I am a brother to my siblings. And so just that alone, I'm already many people. And you yourself have been many people, and you yourself have manifested this energy of compassion to help others. And so let us make the vow to help Avalokiteshvara to manifest. So that more compassion can be realized in our world. And this is not just the human realm alone. Everything around us manifests compassion to nurture us. The trees, they exchange air so that we can breathe. So the tree is a embodiment of Avalokiteshvara. Too, the flowers exude in its beauty for us to enjoy and to feel more at ease. That is an embodiment of Avalokiteshvara. So all of us can be at the same time a human being, a self, but also a bodhisattva. And I hope this message, I hope you can bring home this message and reflect more and see how we can bring the practice into our daily life so that we can realize our potential wherever we are, whoever we are, whoever we want to be. The essence is within. When we have peace and calmness and relaxation and acceptance, we can do many wonders. Thank you for listening.